I am here to drop in with a special download today that is touching on some of the roots of Ayurveda and infusing it with a bit of wild wisdom while we have a conversation with the cards here. But we're looking at Vata season, and we're traveling further into this time when the elements that can increase Vata in our systems, in our physiology, in our psychology, in our consciousness, which are the elements of ether and air, are very prevalent in the atmosphere. Now, we also have a lot of etheric quality present in the current cycle we're moving through astrologically, and we are moving up to that time of Samhain or Halloween when the veil is at its thinnest. So we definitely have a lot coming in from the ether. On top of that, we're in this liminal space in between eclipses. We had the first eclipse of this series that is wrapping up a year of this eclipse cycle that is coming to a close. We will not have any further eclipses until we enter into 2023, and not on this particular axis of Taurus and Scorpio, which are the nodes of destiny, or rather the nodes of fate and destiny. Scorpio being the fate that we are rising up out of, that which we have transformed that used to act as a limitation for us, and Taurus being what we're stepping into, our ability to move into the position of creator in our life and see our visualizations actually come into material manifestation, and particularly in relation to how we invest our time, how we invest our energy, where we're putting our efforts, as well as what we value at the end of the day. Not only what we value within others and within our own sense of personal ethics, but how we value ourselves, how we value our time, what we're spending that time on, what we're prioritizing in our lives, and how this really is a position of having accountability, because we get to choose how we direct our energy. We get to choose how we invest our time. And it is those choices that are going to create our new reality that we're stepping into as we open up a brand new cycle, because this one is definitely coming to a close. This is front and center. So with all this energy in the mix, and with it being Vata season, and people are already feeling very sensitive, and they're having a lot come in. A lot of people are experiencing conscious expansion at this time. It's the energy that's building. It's the energy that's brewing and percolating. We do have a Sagittarius new moon coming up later in November at the tail end that comes in with a Sagittarius stellium. So the proposition of moving into expansion is a very real thing. And when we're looking at expansion in terms of Vata season, and simply the quality that there is more potential for Vata to go out of balance, to go into that place of ether where there's a complete disconnection from the physical, this would not serve our best interests. The reason why it would not serve our best interests is if you lose connection with the physical, then you're not going to be able to manifest effectively. You can go out into the ether, you can get a bit lost out there, and this can cause a lot of things to suffer in our lives. So we're really being asked to come into our bodies right now to focus very much on our self-care, but our self-care from a different angle, and understanding how important energy management is when it comes to the physical state of our health and well-being. Not only the health of our bodies, but the health of our lives, the health of our connections, our relationships, the health of our finances, the health of our social circles. It's all in direct correlation to each other. There is no separation. So today I thought it would be really great to have a discussion on the energetics of moving from the old chapter as we prepare to open up the new, and this in-between place where we are really harmonizing our energy with our next step. Our next step, and some of those steps that we're being asked to take may be a little frightening, because they're asking us to step into a greater potential of ourselves, and this can at sometimes feel a little destabilizing. It can spark anxiety. Even if it's something that's positive, any kind of new stimulus can be a stress, and it can be a stress to the nervous system. And we know that Vata as a dosha in Ayurveda, rules over the nervous system. So we're looking at the way this physiological care to maintain the health and the integrity of the nervous system, while also looking at the energetics of health. How permeable are your boundaries? How much energy are you taking on that isn't your own? And when you're feeling a sense of confusion or a lack of clarity, how can you move into the clear? In the clear is kind of like our catchphrase right now. And it applies on many different levels. When you think about in the clear, well, what can in the clear mean? That can mean like, whew, I'm in the clear. I didn't know if I would get through that thing. That was a little dicey back there, but I made it. I made it by the skin of my teeth. Okay. There's in the clear, like you had a test presented and you passed it. You're in the clear. You got the clear. You got the go ahead. In the clear, the obstacles are moved out of your way. You can now move full steam ahead toward the future. And this is sort of like a traffic jam. We're at the crossroads and there's a bit of a traffic jam right now, okay? We need to wait for some things to get cleared up. There's road work ahead and things are being cleared up so we can, have a smooth passage into the new chapter. But we have a real responsibility to make sure our energy is clear so that we can get the correct guidance coming in about our next steps. And the best way to do that is from a place where we're really taking good care of ourselves, not just in terms of our nervous system and creating spaces for relaxation and integration and assimilation as we're going through an enlightening process is what it really is. And when I say enlightening, I mean there's a lot of things that are coming to light at this time, at this space in between what was the new moon in Scorpio and a partial solar eclipse back on October 25th to what will be the full moon that is coming in on November 8th in the sign of Taurus, and will be a full lunar eclipse, wrapping up a cycle that began a year ago. And when we're looking at the nodes of destiny, when we're looking at that North Node Taurus and South Node Scorpio that's in play right now, that energy actually goes all the way back. You're going to have to rewind it all the way back to 2004. So there's something that was going on in 2004. Let's look at 2004. 2004, that breaks down to 6. That's purpose. Big purpose energy, hatching of the vision energy. And in some way, it's related to closing a karmic cycle that was put back in play back in 2004 that is now becoming evident now. You're going to spot the correlation. And as soon as certain things come to light and you see things as they are, it's going to be very helpful for moving you on to the next stage. However, while you're waiting for this traffic jam to clear up that gives you the free passage to move forward when we hit that new moon in Sagittarius, that Sagittarius stellium at the end of November, it's going to be necessary to make sure you're really getting yourself clear on every level in order to be able to know that the guidance you're receiving is being heard accurately. Does this make sense? That the guidance that you're receiving about what your next step should be come from the part of you that is healed, the part of you that has done the work, the part of you that is ready to step into a greater potential rather than the wounded part of you. It's also the part of you that is informed by your own intuition, your own internal knowing, as opposed to the part of you that relies on the validation of the opinions of external authorities. So this is like a recalibration period right here. It's just a brief little window because things are really going to get cooking in November. And you want to be able to make it through this passage relatively smoothly without a lot of stress. And we are moving into a great deal of expansion. So when we're looking at moving into a great deal of expansion, there becomes this piece so essential with Vata that there's good grounding, but also that there's clarity, because Vata can be so open, so wide open, right? Think about air energy. Think about how open it is. Think about how open it is. Ether, air, energy. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. 10 on the clock when I said that. So, there's this need to be able to have clarity because, with that air, we get airwaves. Sound travels on airwaves. Messages come in through airwaves. And so if you're like this little antenna tick, 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 picking up the signal, you know, in the ether, picking up the signal that's riding in on that wind, all right, the winds of change. Your communication channels can get clogged by so much coming in from so many different directions. And the way to be able to disseminate between the way to disseminate the information and differentiate between what is meant for me, what is just static on the line, and really tune into how to best utilize the awareness, the guidance, the information that's coming in for you at this time, is to be able to keep the channel clear. And I thought we would have some fun with this. I'm just going to shuffle the cards. We're going to have a conversation with the cards. And we're going to get in touch with what is the saboteur, whether the saboteur is within or without. What is the saboteur that is blocking the clarity of the communication, the clarity of the guidance, the clarity of direction that needs to come in at this time in order to be able to move forward most effectively and unblock your blessings? In other words, how can I get the hell out of my own way? How can I oust my inner saboteur? How can I get in touch with those parts of me that are checking out, that aren't being present, the parts of me that are engaged in certain habits or behaviors that are keeping me in a place where I don't have that clarity? And what can I do to start to turn that energy around? And the first thing I want to say about that is that with Vata, there is a heightened sensitivity, okay? And we already know with the thinning of the veil, with the season it is, with the qualities, the gunas of ether and air so prevalent at this fall season, that there can really be a tendency to have too permeable boundaries, to be almost porous energetically. And what I mean by that is sometimes if you don't have good shielding, if you don't have good grounding, if you don't have good energy maintenance, and this goes doubly for anybody who's engaged in any kind of psychic level work, if you're a reader, if you are working with energy healing, if you are in some kind of position, some kind of work that puts you in touch with a lot of people throughout the day where you're having to interact with other people, maybe even be an emotional support to other people, people in counseling positions, caregivers. I could go on and on and on. There can be a real tendency to take on energy that is not your own. And you may be unaware that this is even happening until you hit a point where suddenly you feel so overwhelmed, you feel upset, you're emotional, you are feeling a lack of clarity, you have confusion, you don't feel like you can make effective decisions in your life, you don't have any sense of direction, and you just feel like it's all too much. You're having trouble sleeping. You find you're really buzzing at night, especially with as open as the door is to kind of tapping into higher consciousness at this time. Not only with what's going on in the astral climate, but just the nature of the season and moving into that time of being able to sort of like straddle that line, have a foot in both worlds. You know, we are able to hear spiritual guidance at this time more easily, more readily. It's closer to the bone at this time of year. That internal knowing, that knowing that goes beyond reason, is so much more accessible at this time of year. And so there really is this piece about being able to understand that sometimes when you're feeling this overwhelming state of activation, it's not even necessarily your energy. It's not necessarily coming from you. And in fact, if you feel very disconnected from that, like, I don't get it. Why am I so upset? Why am I feeling so activated? Chances are you got hitchhikers. You've taken on energy that's not yours to hold. You've made an agreement to take on somebody's energetic load. And so there's a need to be able to have very practical practices for maintaining the energy body so you can keep that channel clear and you don't get this kind of enmeshment and confusion. Yeah, because it can jam everything up. It can jam everything up. And that can block our blessings with this Ace of Diamonds coming in the shadow. This is what we want to move beyond. This is what inhibits our growth. 7 of Diamonds in the shadow is when we don't have that clarity. And when there's too many other opinions, too many other thought forms, too much energetical expectation that's placed on us that we've taken on as a personal burden and responsibility, that we really can get in our own ways because we've taken on agendas that have nothing to do with us. They're other people's agendas. By bringing this into a place of clarity, we achieve victory. We're able to overcome the blockage. And this invites in our ultimate blessing with the 10 of diamonds. This is the manifestation of abundance. This is nothing to want for. This is feeling fulfilled. This is being able to see those visions you have actually become reality. Actually become reality, something you can see, something you can feel, something you can directly encounter that is solid, it's foundational, and it came from the way you invested your energy. And you don't arrive at that place of ultimate fulfillment and achievement, success, until you have really come to a place of clarity. So the first and the foremost thing to be aware of with this Jack of Hearts coming up in the shadow, and this would be water sign collective, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. The first thing to be aware of is differentiating between what the heart wants and what is actually stemming from another desire to fulfill this place that is yearning within the heart with a temporary fix. It's sort of like slapping a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. There's this need to be aware of what is motivating you at this time. And with the 2 of spades coming in the shadow, this is definitely referring to a need to come into center and to block outside distractions so you can really get in touch with why you're feeling this sort of push-pull energy in the heart center. It's like you feel this activation in your heart, and it's there's times when it does feel like it's this force that's compelling you forward to move in a certain direction, to invest yourself in a certain way. And at the same time, there's moments when this same feeling arises within your heart space and it gives you quite a different impression. It almost feels like it's a warning, like it has an activation that's very similar to other times in your life when you've encountered different traumas. And so there's been this place inside of you that's trying to decipher if you're getting sort of a call to move into action, to follow your heart and pursue this direction, or if you're being warned that this is a garden path that could lead to more of the same. I think that there's the ability for you to come into the place of being very clear with this, but it involves you kind of holding space for yourself and reinforcing your energetic boundaries. This may look like getting up in the morning and taking a few moments to envision a shield around yourself. And that shield can be anything you want it to be. It can be a certain color of a light. It can be any kind of guarding energy, fortress-like energy, shielding, sort of surrounding energy that allows you a sense of containment where you can really be in your own energy, be in your own element without interference from outside frequencies filtering in. And there's no right or wrong way to put up shielding. It's actually very simple. All you need to do is just take a few moments to just chill out, take some deep breaths, come into your center, close your eyes, and get in touch with what you're needing. Ask your higher consciousness, ask your Atman to come forward and give you some kind of symbol, some kind of sign of what kind of shield you should throw up around yourself. And it's ideal that you change this shield daily. You don't throw up the same shield every day. And it's very wise also to drop into the body, to get rooted in that primal place of yourself, that instinctual part of yourself that can really merge your intellect with your intuitive knowing, So you can create this containment around your experiences, what you feel as you move throughout the day. So the signals you're receiving and the communication that's coming in doesn't get garbled by other interfering intrusions from the energies around you, the people around you, the opinions around you, the media around you, whatever you may encounter throughout the day. And there's something about this, like really making sure maybe you used to have a practice where you focused on your shielding. It was something that you did. You had like something you did routinely on a regular basis to just kind of protect your energy, stay in your own energy. And you've gotten a little kind of lackadaisical about that. You've kind of let it slip to the wayside. I think you're really being encouraged to bring this practice back. And I also think you should use it not only in the morning, but you should also use it at night, because I think that there's going to be so much opening up for people in the evening hours. There's going to be so many downloads coming in that are giving information that seeds your next step moving into the future. It was 21:33 on the clock when I said that. That's 3:3:3:9. It's like there's helpers coming in that will assist you in closing the old cycle and making sure that you have, your compass heart is on point, that it's pointing you in the right direction. But there is something about this, that there's too much outside energy, there's too much static on the line, there's too much noise that is creating an interference. And it's not that you're not getting a clear signal, it's not that the signal that you're tapped in is off, it's that there's outside interference coming in that is like kind of just, it's distorting the message. It's distorting the message. And that's why you can feel kind of this like dissonance. It's almost like this state of flux within the heart. And it goes between really trusting your heart and where it's leading you, and to the other side of that, where it's like, I don't know. There's a little bit of a questioning there. So I see that this is really essential. Yeah, because with this 7 of Hearts collective, there's just going to be a lot of messages coming in. And there's also going to be, once we start to move toward that Sagittarius new moon, there's also going to be a lot of doorways presented in front of you. And it's going to be up to you if you go through those doors or not. And not all doors are ones that you want to open. Some of those doors look like they might lead you somewhere new, but they can just reroute you back to where you were before. So there's this need for us all collectively, especially with Mars heading into retrograde on the 30th. There is this need for us to hold our horses and let our choices, let our route toward the future be hatched within the more subtle layers of our awareness, as opposed to taking these real overt actions right now. There will be the time for action. It's coming up very quickly with that Sagittarius new moon. You're going to have to make a choice about which doors you're going to open, which opportunities you're going to take, which ones you're going to pass on. Some things you will be saying yes to, and other things you will be releasing. And that's what it's about. We are determining with that North Node in Taurus, what do we value? What do we value? We want to make sure our choices are coming from a clear place. And the best way we can achieve that is by untangling what's my energy and what belongs to other people. And shielding is a good first place to begin with this. We also have to look at the way we're keeping ourselves busy with this 4 of Spades coming up in the shadow that is preventing us from having the time we need for integration of everything we've been through over the past year. This is so essential that we allow ourselves rest, that we don't feel guilty for giving ourselves extra sleep. And when there's extra energy demands, when there's extra demands on the nervous system, there is an increased need for more rest. So at this time, in this in-between place when so much is shifting in both the inner worlds and in our lives as a whole and collectively in the world, it's necessary that you don't feel guilty when you need to take a rest, when you need to slow down. And I think this is something that needs to be more of a priority moving forward, okay? Because this rest is what's going to help us get to the other side of that wounding, get to the other side of the hurt that we're still holding on, get to the other side of where we feel conflicted, so we can move through the heaviness that we all have been moving through with the Pluto cycle we've been working our way through, to get to the light, to get to the other side, to see that the gift that came out of this place of, you know, making us feel like we were blocked, making us feel like we couldn't take any action, making us feel like life was happening to us and that we didn't have any ability to change our course. We can break through that. We can recognize it for the illusion it is. And in its place, what becomes illuminated for us with the 9 of clubs is the way that we have been blocking our own way. We've been blocking our own way, and we've been standing guard at the ready to fend off anything that's going to threaten us any further. People are feeling very guarded. They're not feeling safe. If you're guarded, you can't move into the expansion that's in offer with that Sagittarius stellium new moon later in November. You don't want to miss this opportunity. This juncture is really important. So there's a need to lay down the defenses and to understand that you've been manning that post for far too long. It's time to open up into a greater potential and to take the risk to let life flood back in, to take the risk to open up your heart, to feel inspired again, to feel enthusiastic about moving forward, to not be so frightened, about stepping into the unknown and what could be, to instead see it as this moment of real opportunity for it being whatever you choose to make it, okay? Because we see that you can take that feeling of disappointment, the wounding, the hurt, and you can fill it up with love. You know, you can fill it up with love by connecting to the vision, the direction that inspires your heart moving forward, and understanding that, yeah, I went through some difficult experiences in the past. I had to close some really painful cycles, but I need to clear this out of my space. I need to clear the energy out of my space that is part of me that's still holding on to that point of that place and time where I experienced that hurt. And I need to give some kind of meaning, some kind of respect to its passing. And I encourage you at this time to even view these situations almost like deaths, you know, like deaths, the deaths that they are. Clarissa Placola Estes calls them las grandes muertes. They're like the big deaths. They're the moments of initiation in our life after we've gone through a really difficult transition, when we need to let something go and move forward cleanly. We can't be in the clear to get the go ahead to step into the new life if we're still insistent on trying to revive the old one. Makes sense? So at some point you have to kind of like let go. And sometimes we need to give meaning to our experiences in order to clear those reminders, those cords of attachment from our energy field. And a lot of that has to do with giving some reverence to the experience you went through and honoring it for the initiation that it was. Maybe create a beautiful ritual. And as you are honoring the dead on Samhain, as you are honoring the dead during Dias de los Muertos, that you can take the time to also think about the deaths that you have encountered spiritually in your life, the deaths you have encountered emotionally in your life, the deaths you have encountered in terms of how your beliefs have changed, how you see other people, how you've seen yourself. And then you create some kind of respect around this so that the pain associated with those experiences can feel like it's being witnessed. And in being witnessed, it feels heard, it feels held, and then it can be released. So I really encourage you to allow yourself to experience that release by creating these rituals for yourself that give you this feeling of closure. This is sort of like a bit of karmic balancing, okay, with this 2 of diamonds coming up in the shadow. There's this need to move out of the karmic debt perspective to understanding that there is also something that has been received. There has been an energy exchange, even within the paying off of the karmic debt, and that is the gift that it gave, which comes in the form of wisdom, and wisdom that's going to carry you forward in a new way that allows you to step into a whole new phase of your life where you start making different choices for yourself, and thereby you begin to have different experiences. Because right now with this 2 of clubs in the shadow, this is what's out of alignment. You're looking forward at the future, but you're looking through the eyes of the past. You can't look forward to the future if you're still looking with the eyes of the past. There's a need to allow those scales to fall from your eyes so you can see things clearly. And only in that way will you be in the clear, in that what you see on the outside will reflect what is coming from the inside. When you are in a place where you are in clarity within, because you have shed the old energy, you're not holding on to all the old story that's running through your physiology at all times, emitting a frequency out there, encouraging you to draw more experiences of the same, just so you can finally get the lesson. You can clear this energy from your field by doing things like giving yourself cleansing baths. You know, I've said it many times, I'll say it again. It's very simple. 2 cups of baking soda to 2 cups of Epsom salt, sea salt. And from there, listen to your intuition. Trust what comes through, even if it feels strange to you, even if it feels silly to you. If you feel like I should put a certain plant in the tub, I should put a certain tincture in the tub, I should put some crystals in the tub, or maybe I want to have a certain kind of music playing while I am taking my soak. Maybe I want to light some candles. Maybe I want to have certain scents around me. I want to bring in a diffuser and, you know, cleanse my body and my being in this way, make a whole experience of this cleansing bath, but allow it to be informed by you, not from what you're getting outside of yourself. There's more of this need to really turn the attention within and to look to yourself for the clarity you need, and to do what you have to do to clear out the interfering energies from your channels so that you're not feeling this place of being conflicted anymore. You can come into your center and know with absolute certainty what the next move should be. 3 of diamonds in the light. This is how you come into that place where you can come into alignment, mind, body, spirit, where it comes into alignment, heaven, man, earth, okay? And it's this synergy that actually allows you to manifest your new direction forward from a very clear place that is not tinged by the same programming of the past, so you don't recreate what you've already been through. And it was 33:11 on the clock when I said that. I want to pull out this Halloween oracle to get some specific spiritual practices we can do to move into that place of clarity and move into the clear, so we can find a clear passage forward. And we'll just see what comes through and any kind of further illumination that needs to come in this regard. You know, you can even put on your stove, you know, some water to boil. You can put different spices in there, like cinnamon for attraction, and ginger for clearing negative energies and stimulating the fire of the wand, the fire of the ability to take action, to move things out that are blocking the passageway to this new cycle in your life with ease and efficiency. You can add in allspice to encourage blessings to come in. You can go with any type of herb, spice that you're drawn to. You can put oranges in to bring in the sweetness of life, but also to bring in purification. And you can bring this to a boil on your stove, kind of like a nice like potpourri, a simmering potpourri. And the beauty of this is each element you bring in, you're bringing in with your intention, with your awareness. And it's also working through the medium of water with the air, so it combats that dry quality. It helps combat what aggravates vata. So at the same time, you're putting this essence into your atmosphere that helps calm and soothe your nervous system. Also is holding your intention energetically and purifying the energy in your home, while also, keeping the air in your home more hydrated. So you're not experiencing these negative physical effects of the air being too dried out in your home, which is really common at this time of the year as we start to use the heater. It dries out the air. You can experience respiratory issues. And we want to be mindful of that, because when it comes to letting go of old grief, that's held in the lungs. So we don't want to encourage any kind of old, stuck, dried out quality in the lungs. We want to be able to break that all up and to keep it moving, to get it up and out, to clear it out so it can clear the way. Okay. This is also about clutter, and I'm getting that really strongly. You might be holding on to some old things that you really need to go through your home. You need to bag things up. You've got clothes hanging around that used to fit you, but they are too big now because you've been going through some kind of health change. A lot of you have. A lot of you have been working with exercise. You've been changing some of your habits. You've been calling yourself out on some of your coping mechanisms. And with some of you, that's been, you've had issues with food. You've kind of done a lot of comfort eating. Some of you have had issues with turning to alcohol to sort of like numb things out. And a lot of you have been bringing attention to these areas. You've been doing this work, and this is part of what you are clearing out so you can get in the clear. Yeah, we see right here, this comes up with the zombie card. And to me, this makes absolute sense, okay? Because yeah, it's kind of had you walking around like a zombie when you're always tuning out from what you're really feeling because it's uncomfortable. And that's the thing with Vata, it can be uncomfortable to sink into the expansiveness of what you're feeling because of that innate sensitivity that Vata has. But certainly, if you haven't been practicing good grounding, certainly if you haven't been taking care of your energy maintenance, having good energetic hygiene, this can be a problem. You can start to really get kind of fuzzy headed, foggy, and if you're utilizing something like food to cope with what you're feeling, or to rather distract yourself from what you're feeling, or if you are turning to alcohol or other substances or other unhealthy behaviors, or, even just hooking up with people, to feel a sense of connection, even though it's not coming from a place it's healing or supportive of really feeling a true sense of connection with another, that it's actually more a way to distract yourself from the lack of the true connection that you're feeling. There's a need to bring these things to conscious awareness and take steps to cut these things off so you can come back to life again. So you're not living your life on autopilot, numbed out, just because you're trying to avoid the ups and downs of experience. It's part of life. Like the valleys are what inform our ability to rise to the next level in our life, and success and failure are intertwined. They're, opposite sides of the same coin, and they each have something to teach us. It's when we start to avoid the pain that the shadow begins to gain a stronghold over us, and it can act as an inner saboteur. And then we think that things are happening to us, but actually we're the ones creating it because we ignored our shadow. So our shadow has no choice but to kind of act out in unhealthy ways to get our attention. Because at the end of the day, that's what pain wants. It wants to be acknowledged. It wants to be seen. It wants to be witnessed. And the more that pain is unacknowledged, the more that pain is avoided, the more these difficult issues, these difficult feelings, these stuck points are swept under the rug, the more that they actually take root in our lives and come out in dysfunctional ways that actually have control over us. And then soon we're not living at all. There's somebody else at the wheel. There's somebody else at the wheel. It's that voice of that parent who told us we'd never amount to be shit. Woo, that just flew out of the deck. You know, it's that lover who told you you weren't good enough, and I'm going to go over here to this person because they're better than you. You know, you could never be what they are. It's those externalized voices that you've taken on as your own to define yourself, and instead of putting the focus on where it should really be with, is this statement actually truth, is this actually accurate, or where is this coming from, what other people have tried to put on me, understanding that it's actually, no, it's where they're at, the need to devalue you and try to make you feel less than, is a way for them to feel more comfortable with their discomfort and their need to control and feeling like they have the upper hand. Part of you taking your control back is being willing to sit with those places that feel terribly uncomfortable. So as you sit with these places that make you terribly uncomfortable, find a way to make them as comforting as possible for yourself. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're, feeding yourself nourishing meals. Make sure that you're giving yourself like your coziest blanket, your coziest robe, to snuggle up in when you're feeling sensitive and raw, as you start to do this last bit of clearing work before you prepare to take action. Make sure that you're taking the time to give yourself space to integrate these experiences, and that you're not trying to fill every moment that seems so empty with distraction, because it's in those empty spaces that all the answers are going to arrive for you right now. This is really about just creating the space to also let go, creating the space by first let go of shit in your physical environment. Start going through your home. Are you hanging on to things from old lovers? Are you hanging on to them like a memento that is like holding a place for this person's energy in your life? Sometimes it can be like that. And I can understand wanting to hold on to some things. But if you know that you have like a negative attachment to the past that is not allowing you to move forward, maybe it's time you let that shit go. Maybe you even want to give that shit a burn. Just burn it up, release it, do it with respect, bless it up as you send it on its way. But maybe it's not time to hold on to that anymore. Maybe it is keeping you stuck energetically at a time that has long since served its purpose, and the only one you're holding back is yourself. So the home can be an amazing template for where you are at energetically. So if you're finding a lot of clutter in your home, if you're holding on to a lot of stuff that you have no use for anymore, if you're holding on to stuff that you haven't even touched it for a year, bag it up, tag it up, drop it off at, a donation center, or maybe somebody who could benefit from these items, somebody who could actually get some use out of them, that it might really be an assistance to somebody else if you pass this on to them. Clear out your space, let stuff go. If you have this willingness to let stuff go within your home, you're going to find it clears your energy as well. And it's also going to help you more easily let go of your attachments to the old story, to the way things used to be, to this relationship that you've outgrown, to this job that no longer serves its purpose. And that frees you up to move into so much more of what you are meant to be when you get out of your own way and you don't resist the path that life is trying to show to you. Because what I see here is the dawn of a new day. We have the light after the darkness. We got that owl medicine coming through, okay? And owl is all about the magic that's weaving through your life. But owl is also about being able to move within that space of darkness and to see very clearly. So you got owl totem coming in for you, and do be on the lookout for this. When you notice owl totem showing up on your path, you'd be surprised. It's like once a totem introduces themselves, you can start seeing all kinds of signs of it coming through. You'll be on your feed, and all of a sudden you see come up in your feed pictures of owls. You might be at the grocery store and you go to put your groceries on the conveyor belt, and you look over to the side and there's a box of Tootsie Roll Pops with that little owl taking a lick, saying how many licks to get to the center. Well, how many licks is it going to take to get to the center? It's all up to you. You can, nurture that sucker for a long time if you want, and you can continue to be a sucker devoted to the old way, or you can get the memo and do what you need to do to chomp on through and get to that sweet, gooey center that is the part you really want to get to, right? At the end of the day. I mean, there's definitely light entering your life now. Why would you want to cling to these experiences where you felt so lost and so confused and so in the dark, and where you weren't even seeing yourself accurately? Why would you want to stay in this place when you have the opportunity to step into so much beauty and so much potential and so much that's going to light your life up in a brand new way, and a way that allows you to take all that wisdom you've gained through what you've gone through to your advantage to call something new into being? It's all up to you, okay? We got cauldron, synergy, and healing. It's all up to you what you want to create from this point forward. And you can choose to create from that wounded part of you. You can choose to keep your energy jammed up, holding on to so many things, having this great sense of attachment, feeling like you need to control everything. But if you can just go with the flow, you're going to actually find out that by letting go and allowing yourself to move into this expansion, you have so much more room to create and play and bring something new into being that will really cook up something that will nurture you, something that's really going to fill you up, leave you with a sense of satisfaction. All right. You don't need to sit here and stir the pot anymore. You don't need to be caught up in the distraction of like these dramatic situations or these dramatic people that you've been dealing with. You can recognize it for what it is. And instead, you can start calling into your life. When we stir, we're stirring in. And this piece is coming in about making food time, making time when you're going to nourish yourself. In particular, those of you who are using food to cope. Instead, get really in touch with your body's rhythms. Get really in touch with your hunger. Get in touch with your fullness. Don't take more than you need. And understand how this too can also put you in harmony with the flow of abundance in your life, to not grasp for things. You don't have to fill yourself up in desperation. When you can get in touch with your true hunger, and when you can get in touch with your true satisfaction, then you come into a place of balance. This is also reflected in how easily things come to you. People who are always reaching, grasping for more out of the sense of desperation, what do? They clog their channels. We see this physically. It manifests as what? Additional weight on the body. And does it even release the negative emotions that were associated with why you turn to numb out with food in the first place? It absolutely doesn't. Now you got that, and you got this added physical manifestation of this weight. Now your actual emotional state has taken form physically. So it's staring you in the face all the time. So this is about understanding that you don't need to take more, that there's always going to be enough, and to feel this need to always constantly take in more, take in more, take in more, cover it up, cover it up, cover it up, fill yourself up with something that isn't truly filling the real need. You actually keep from you the very thing you need to feel that sense of fulfillment. So when you cook, start cooking with intention. Start stirring into your dishes what you're actually looking to call into your life, what you're looking to nourish yourself with. And when you have that food sitting on the table before you, take it in with gratitude. Understand the beautiful grounding that comes into your body when you nourish yourself properly. The way that it shows a certain respect and appreciation for this vessel that houses your spirit, that allows you to have good footing, that allows you to move through life with health, with vitality. And this is what is going to allow you to feel more of a connection to earth, this connection to earth through really appreciating the way earth sustains you through this nourishment of food. And as you transform your relationship with food and the way you nourish yourself, and you eat intentionally, you eat mindfully, you pay gratitude when you eat, offer up some kind of prayer from your heart of gratitude for this food that you have to nourish yourself with. It is a blessing. It is a blessing, and it's also an abundance, and it's a gift. And to recognize that encourages more of the same. Then you're going to find you're not going to be so greedy with food anymore. you're going to find because you feel that sense of support, you're more able to allow yourself to feel what you feel emotionally without feeling like you got to numb it out or shut it out. And this can really transform things for you. Because we're heading up to that time. We're heading up to that liminal space. We're in that space right now with equinoxes. And for soon it's going to be for whom the bell tolls. We got midnight, the most magical hour of all. Okay? We're at that point. We're at that point where it's coming down to the wire. And we're going to see what's on the other side of that stroke of midnight. Do we go back to who we were before? Does all of our work come to naught? Do we put ourselves back into a subservient role with so many chores, just endless chores, just more and more chores to do, more work to do? Or are we going to step into the truth of who we're ready to be and step into our time of having a ball? It's really about allowing yourself to live on your own terms and to not allow yourself to be limited any further by the things that have held you back in the past. And knowing that this is a magic moment when you get to make the choice. You get to make the choice of whether you choose to stay stuck in the past or whether you step into the new paradigm. And I think you're going to choose to step into the new. I really feel that very strongly. But first, we got to make it through this juncture. We got the underworld where all things pause and begin again. And look at that Persephone imagery with that pomegranate seed. It's kind of like going through a bit of a hall of mirrors. You're going to have a lot of things reflected back to you during this space leading up to that Sagittarius new moon. And it's particularly going to be highlighted with that full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus on November 8th. It's like one more dance with the devil under the pale moonlight, one more dalliance to get clear on what part of you is this really feeding. And then it's going to be up to you how you work with the energy, work with the guidance that comes through. Are you going to take on somebody else's story that maybe seems to be the seed of all you dream? Or are you going to have more consideration and take a moment to pause, hold some space, not act out at that place of impulsiveness, to understand what your true motivation is for being here, for wanting to revisit this thing, for wanting to be in a state that really is keeping you in a place of limitation when you're meant to break free and break on through to the other side. Trick or treat? What will it be? That's all up to you, my friends. Mischief and play. Mischief and play is the order of the day. Make best use of it.